Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising BIDness Talk. This is episode 20. My name is Patrick Cyber, and I happen to be the owner and primary beneficiary, benefit auctioneer for my company, G Events LLC. And it's been a great week. We're about to wrap up our spring season tonight with a fun event for Boone's Ferry Primary School. Couldn't be more excited about what's going to happen out there. Doing a 100% virtual event, and that'll be exciting. But today, hey, I really want to talk about, if you tuned in last week, we were able to chat a little bit about what was going to happen that night, which was our first hybrid event. And we were extremely excited about it. And I have to say that the results exceeded our expectations. It was an incredible success. I think that the client was, well, I know the client was extremely happy, and that's fantastic. And it took a village, right? It took a group of folks coming together to make that event so successful. And first off, before we even get started, I have to thank our good friends at the AV department. Todd Campbell and John Hasty and Sean and John, and that would be John Lyles and John Hasty both, and others were all on site to make it happen. We had an incredible venue with being able to use the Stoller Family Estate and Wineries, their new experience center. And then my colleague, Jill Marie Wiles, former IAC International Auctioneer Champion. Jill Marie has been a mentor to me in the business since I was in auction school. And she is the one that originally reached out to me. And one of her clients, the YWCA, had approached her. They had to postpone their event, cancel their event from the previous year in 2020 for all the common reasons that we hear. And they were wanting to do an event in 2021, and they were hoping to make it a virtual event. They weren't sure how to do that and really wanted to have some component of in-person, but they weren't quite sure how. And Jill Marie recommended that they engage me. And so together with myself and Joe Marie, the AV department, our software partner, Octria, we put together a plan and executed. It's something that we've been talking about for quite a while. I think ever since we did our first virtual event, I think that, as excited as we were to get into the virtual world and start to see that happen, we immediately started thinking about what's the next evolution here, because at some point we're going to be bringing people back together. And when we do, we want to make sure that we bring them back safely and that we bring them back together. But we also knew really early on into the virtual environment that there was a lot of benefits to virtual that we wanted to carry over into the new environment. Whatever that new environment was going to be. So the event last week was a perfect example of that all coming together. And I wanted to share with you some different elements of that event. Let's start by taking a look at some photos that we took at the event. And it's just going to pop over the top of me, which is fine. But this is, we're out there at the Stoller Winery in their experience center. This is a brand new facility. This is the view from the stage. So this is where Jill Marie and her MC, Julia from Fred Meyer, were located. And this is what they were looking at. So you can see on the top monitor there, we have the script, so that as we learned, one of the benefits that we learned in the virtual world was that having these events scripted was a positive, because we wanted to make sure that we stayed on time and that was going to be crucial. So we went with we started incorporating prompters. And, you use the term teleprompter. I mean, teleprompter in this case is nothing more than a 65-inch monitor with a Word document displayed on it. And we're actually controlling it from the tech table that's actually stage left. The second monitor that you see here on the screen is our Octria monitor, we call it. And basically what we do there is we use that for our auction software, and we use a split screen. Octria has a wonderful functionality called, or a tool called Bid Monitor. And we actually open it in two separate tabs. And the one tab we leave in the Bid Monitor format, set to donations only. And then the second tab that we have open so that they're kind of in a split screen environment is what they call their live auction controller. And that allows us to see the action on any specific auction package as we are actually selling it. So Octria has incredible functionality, and it was a breeze. It was absolutely crazy how easy it was to do a hybrid using Octria. It was just fabulous. I'm going to show you a couple of other pictures. This is what it looked like from the audience view, right? So you can see that there's a little bit of stage lighting you saw a minute ago, and then what you'll notice that these tables are set at an angle, and there's not a chair. There's no chair has its back to the stage. And that was something that I really liked about the layout. Tracy Timmons and the incredible culinary team that they have out at Stoller Family Estate did a fabulous job this day. In fact, you wouldn't even have known they were there. I mean, from the standpoint, it was so smooth. There was no banging of dishes. There was no, the food service was fabulous. They served I would call it a glorified appetizer type of plate. It was heavy enough. You could probably make a good meal out of it, but you could, but each person got their own individual plate, right? Because of COVID. And then they served kind of a dessert selection, if you will. There was several options on your dessert. It was kind of a small bites deal that people could utilize. This event, for those wondering, this event started at 4:00 in the afternoon. It was designed to be kind of a happy hour event. You can also see off in the distance there, Tim Stewart, my fellow auctioneer, and actually also Jill Marie's husband, and I were sitting there. I'm the big guy. You knew that, but we're sitting over there at our tech table, and we have the three computers up in front of us. Let's take another look if we can see. Yeah, here's a look again, kind of from the tech table. But once again, I'm going to point out, you see how these tables are turned. The concept has always been to us in this next evolution that, especially as the rules tend to change and we're not 100% back to acting normal, okay, was that we were going to start with a virtual event. We were going to create an environment to produce a virtual event, and then we were going to add a studio audience as society allowed, okay? And so in this environment here, we were able to incorporate 75 people in person, and then we had obviously the hour-long show. So, in talking about scheduling, folks showed up around 4 to 4:30. I wouldn't call it a mix and mingle. They were actually escorted to their tables, and then a few people were asked to circulate that were, representatives of the organization and the host sponsor, and they circulated safely and distantly, and practicing all their social distancing skills. But, it was interesting to me, it was just a few days before that the CDC had come out with the, new mask rules with respect to if you were vaccinated, then you were allowed to go without a mask indoors and out, of course. And, but most people started with mask on. There was quite a few that were vaccinated, so there was a good mixture, right? But we felt comfortable. We were within the requirements from the state. max was going to be about 75 people. And so that's the group that we had. Now, to put that in perspective, this event had traditionally been a luncheon event for 400 people in a hotel ballroom. So, what we did was help them to identify those, that select group to 75 individuals who were, quite honestly, the most philanthropic or were supporting the organization the best way. And they were invited to the event, not necessarily solicited to buy a ticket. Okay. Now they had committed to sponsorship and things of that nature at certain levels, but they were there by invitation and not necessarily a random ticket, first come, first serve situation. And I think that's crucial when we're talking about this next evolution, because we have an opportunity here, folks. The Band-Aid has been ripped off, as you've heard me say many times, and we do not have to, we used to say in the gathering environment all the time, more bodies does not mean more money for the nonprofit. And I subscribe to a philosophy that, just because you have more people there definitely does not mean you're going to raise more money. In fact, in some ways, I think there's a diseconomy of scale. And what I mean by that is I think that when you put people in the room who are there purely and only for the social aspect of the gathering event, they're not there philanthropically or to support the organization philanthropically, that when they do not bid, there is an energy in the room that it becomes acceptable to not raise your bid card. And so I've always been ultra sensitive to making sure our clients know that they're not necessarily positively correlated, right? More bodies does not mean more money. Now, I would tell you in the virtual world, we learned that the more people who are that you reach with your message and give them an opportunity to support you, that they will. Okay. And so in the virtual world, we talk about there is more opportunity for expanding your demographics. And so when we talk about hybrid, really what you're looking for is mixing the best of those two worlds together. And so we can start with that small select group where there's still an economy to the people that are in the room raising their paddle. It creates an atmosphere. Hey, everybody's raising their paddle. I better raise mine. Okay. It also creates some peer pressure, maybe that we don't see in the virtual event. We try hard to recreate that. I use a methodology I refer to as pre-commits. And what that means is that we strive to have our auction committees go out and solicit pre-commitments of dollar donations for the paddle raise, so that we can recognize those people during the broadcast, and that we have some material, if you will. We have some individuals that we can acknowledge and announce, hey, so-and-so reached out in advance and provided us with a gift. The logic behind that, to me, is that we are showing the other viewers on the other end of that television screen that, yes, people are supporting this cause. And so we really get a great opportunity to do that with our hybrid event. And because we are able to take some camera angles from the other side of the stage, and we show the audience. And this is something that the AV department really did a masterful job. Normally when we shoot a virtual event, we might be 1, 2, possibly 3 cameras at the most. But what we did with this event was we had 1 camera focused on the stage, and then the other cameras were designated to show a combination, right? To show a combination of not only the stage, but also to show the audience, because that is what we want. We want that energy in the room to come across in that in that video moment on that image on someone's smart television or on their tablet or on their phone, whatever they may be watching the virtual component of the hybrid on. We want them to see that, hey, people are raising their paddle, and hopefully that'll get them to push that button to make a donation. So it's been interesting and fantastic. I want to mention I do have it up on our Vimeo channel, and because this is recorded and you can go back and you can pause it. But if you want to see the event, there's some phenomenal video work done here. John Hasty directing the show, Todd Campbell running the audio and stuff. They did a fantastic job. It was seamless, quite honestly. And we incorporated a lot of the elements that we incorporate normally with respect to incorporating videos. We had some great videos from a couple of the beneficiaries that have benefited from the support that the YWC has received in previous years, and some of the programs that they've been able to fund because of the support of the Inspire Hope Luncheon. And so that really sets the table. As we all know, these videos, when you share the work and you take people into, I call it taking them to the trenches of where the work is done. I think we have a unique opportunity in these when we incorporate a virtual element to showcase more messages and communicate the mission of the organization in a much better way than we ever had in our traditional gathering environment format. And so, once again, another powerful benefit of the virtual. And now when you combine it with people in the room, it was really, really a special time. And, for those who are asking, we've gotten some questions about, how did you handle the bidding? We only had 2 live auction packages in this event, and that was kind of by design. The event has not traditionally been an auction. It's been more of a paddle race focused event, but we added a couple of unique auction packages that really fit the organization well and fit the sponsorships well. And we did open up the bidding in advance of the event online, right? And folks were encouraged to go online and make bids or donations on the packages. And then at the event, we closed or sold those packages in real time. And what I mean by that is no different than we've done in most of our virtual events. We have a live auction component in most of those, and we're taking bids online. And I don't really get into as much bid calling as you would traditionally see, because I'm waiting for people to respond to the bidding in their application, their app, or online. But in this environment, we're able to combine both elements, right? So we could take bids from people that were in the room, and we could also take bids from people that were just online. And people wonder, well, how does that happen? It's funny because the auction industry has been hosting simulcast auctions for probably 20, 25 years since online bidding became available, with in personal property, in autos and livestock and other formats that the auction method is used. And what's happened in those environments, I was pretty excited to convert those or adapt those methodologies into the benefit auction business. And so we did exactly that. I actually registered as a bidder through the Octria app, and my bidder name was @Stoller, okay, because we were at the Stoller Winery. And Jill Marie asked me, originally I just had Floor Bidder. My first name was going to be Floor, and my second name was going to be Bidder, my last name. But I just, she said, because she would see it on the monitor, she said, can you change your name to @Stoller, right? And I thought, well, that's funny. Yeah, absolutely, I can. And it made sense, because what was happening is that we started out and our MC Julia would introduce the package, and then she would toss it to Jill Marie with, hey, Jill Marie, where's the bidding at now? And Jill Marie would look at her monitor in front of you that I showed you earlier. It's the monitor right there, okay? Or you can see it. Where else can you see it? Can you see it on this one? Yeah. So it's this lower monitor down below, right? And on that is using Octria's live auction controller. She could see the item that was bid on, what the current bid price was, and she could also see everybody that had bid up to that point, right? So, and then she would start calling bids. So she would, let's say she was at $1,000, and we were going to start the bidding. She would say, I'm at $1,000. I'm with Matt online, okay? And then she would go at 1,000 and now 1,100. And when somebody in the room would raise their bid card, she would say, I'm at 1,100 at Stoller. Okay. And when she would say at Stoller, and I knew she had taken the bid in the room, I would bid as at Stoller. And so now it would pop up on the monitor on Octria as at Stoller has the bid, right? So anytime, and if somebody bid online, then she would reference that, hey, I'm at 1,200 online. I'm at $1,200, now 13, and 13 is bid here at Stoller, and now 14. 14's bid here at Stoller, and now 15. 1,500 out of bid, now 15, now 15. 15 is bid online, and now 16, and 1,600. We're back at Stoller at 1,600. So we just followed away. It's not complicated, folks. I've heard auctioneers, I've heard event planners talking about having 3 and 4 people and da 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 da. It was like, no, it's not necessary. It's simple. Okay, don't over engineer it, right? Don't over engineer it. Just go ahead and register a bidder. Now, what would happen is when we sold it to the person in the house at Stoller, if we sold it to the person at Stoller, then I would go into Octria and I would reassign the winning bid to the bid number that she called, that Jill Marie called there at the winery. So she said, I have sold it. I've sold it to bidder number 123. Bidder number 123 is the buyer. And so then I would go into the software, into that item, and I would reassign the winning bid to bidder number 123. Fabulous, right? Absolutely ridiculously fabulous. Now, and obvious, but I'll just state it because we're here to discuss how this works. If somebody bought it, she sold it to the person that was online, then that is fantastic also, because then what happened was it just executed it like a traditional online winning bidder. And that was slick, right? Now, the other thing that I really, you guys have seen my video. I've run several times. I'm not going to bore you with it today, but of the things I'm not going to miss about a gathering event, right? And on that list is long lines at registration and things of that nature. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, what did you do? Okay, so, well, I'll tell you what we did was we had RSVPs from the people that were going to attend, and we knew all their emails. Okay, so using the import feature on Octria, we very simply import that list of individuals into the software as bidders. Okay, and all we had was their first and last name and their email address. From there, we sent them all a registration invitation so that they could complete the rest of the registration process, like provide a credit card in advance. They could put their address, put their phone number, that type of stuff. But what was cool was once we did that, Octria automatically assigns those people a bid number. And so what we did was then we exported that list to an Excel file, and we printed bid cards, 8.5 by 11, very large white, black font, Verdania, like a 200-point font. But then on the back side of that, we put the person's name and their table number, okay? Because all the seating was assigned, So then we turned around and we put their bid card right at their place setting. And so, as you saw in the earlier pictures with the tables, now the bid cards, when this photo was taken, that bid cards had not been placed yet. I was thinking they might have been. Maybe there's another picture. No, they hadn't been put out yet. But when people arrived, they were asked asked their name, and they were told you're at table 15, you're at table 14, whatever. You can see that the tables were clearly, this is table 15 right here. You can see the tables were clearly marked. And when they got to their place setting, there was their bid card, right? Had their name on it, and it was smooth as silk. Nobody got stopped at the door. Nobody had to wait in line. Nobody, it was fantastic. And then what was beautiful about on the outbound was that as soon as the event was over, Octria automatically sent everybody a statement. And so they got a statement immediately in their email, literally as they're walking out the door. In some cases before they walked out the door, depending on if they hung around and talked or whatever. They got an email statement, and all they had to do was click on the payment link to make their payment, confirm if they had already registered a credit card. All they had to do was confirm they wanted to use that credit card, right? If they wanted to use a check, they could just, the address was there and they could send a check later. So, it was a fabulously smooth, easy to execute. I wouldn't say easy to execute. There was a lot of people involved. It was something that we'd been thinking about for quite some time, but we had all the right people in the right place. And I have to thank Jill Marie for thinking of me and asking me to help produce the event and organize it, because she and I had talked and I had shared with her my vision, and she loved that vision. So as it turned out, we were able to execute it, and it was phenomenal. So, the AV department, I can't say enough about, did a fabulous job. Octria, just a rock solid auction software platform that does phenomenal stuff. And it was easy to do it. But, the one thing that I really liked about this event was that I had an opportunity to be in our first hybrid. I had the opportunity to work kind of behind the scenes and wasn't the front person that Jill Marie was up there calling the bids and things of that nature. I had the opportunity to work at the tech side and make sure that, the bidding for @Stoller worked correctly, and that the monitors were correct, that the flow, the agenda, the script, all of those things that I put together flowed really, really well. And so it was a wonderful success. And, I always say, I can think it's a success, but it helps when you find out that your client thinks it's a success. And here's an email we received from Susan Stoltenberg. Susan is the executive director there at the YWCA, and I'll let you read it at your convenience. But some of the highlights there: exceeding expectations, raised 35% more than they had budgeted. That's a good sign. And my favorite line of all: I can't imagine doing this event any other way ever again. So regardless, this is something that we've talked about a lot, folks. I think that we're not going back just because we can take the mask off. I do not believe we are going back to the traditional gathering event. I think there are going to be components of the virtual world that we should combine with the benefits of the gathering world. And together, I think when we blend those two formats, that we will raise more money for our nonprofits. And at the end of the day, that is the goal. So just a great success, and we couldn't be prouder of what happened last week. We're already reaching out to clients. We're getting quite a few calls. Folks are interested in what we did and want to know how we can help them execute that. And we're standing by, man. We are ready to do it. Dates are starting to fill up, and that's okay. That's a good thing, right? And in fact, let's talk a little bit about dates, because one of the things I noticed yesterday actually was that I'm getting calls about folks who want to incorporate a they want to do an event next year. And one of the great things about doing the virtual events was we talked to our clients right from the get-go, because they weren't going to be 100% virtual, and we talked to them about taking their events off the weekends. We think it's incredibly challenging to get people to tune into a live stream event on a Friday or Saturday during the pandemic. We just felt like people are on Zoom all week. They want to get out and they want to, see the sunshine. They want to have a backyard barbecue with their family. They want to drive to the coast. They want to drink, wherever. Okay. And so we moved a lot of events to the weeknights. Wednesday and Thursday tended to be the most popular, although we did events every night of the week. We did events on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday over the last 15 months. We've done 3 events on Saturday. They were all successful, but I would say that was unique to the client, right? So my number one point here is as we move back into, let's say if we were to say it was 100, we were 100% gathering, now we're 100% virtual. Now we're moving back. When we're incorporating that gathering component, I think people are thinking maybe they want to go back on the weekends. And so I'm seeing our Saturdays fill up really quick, whereas I had 2 clients a week for many weeks this last year on a Wednesday and a Thursday night. The last several weeks I've gone Wednesday and Thursday night back to back. Now all of a sudden those folks are reaching out and saying, hey, we want a Saturday. Yes, we want to incorporate some virtual elements, but for our gathering folks, we want to be on a Saturday. So if you're out there, you haven't booked your date, get on it and make sure your professional fundraising benefit auctioneer is available, and make sure they understand how to incorporate the best of both worlds. And if you always, we're always available to help. Love to chat with you about your event and see where G Events and myself could come in and help you out and help you maximize your end result. Because as I always say, it's not matter where you start the bidding. It's about where you finish. And as I leave you today, I want to remind you that the last bid always wins. And have a great day, folks. We'll look forward to talking to you next week. You can catch us every week. The show is right here Wednesdays at noon Pacific Standard Time, and it's going to be fantastic. Looky there, our good friend Lindsay Zogus reaching out, and she's a perfect example. We did a really cool event for our friends at St. Rose, and really cool virtual event this last spring with Stand Up for St. Rose. It was a comedy-oriented event, themed event. Lindsay Zogus, very, very talented, not only a graphic designer, but quite honestly, a party planner and event producer. Really great at coming up with fantastic themes and incorporating them into how we can raise more money for your nonprofit. But Lindsay's got her event at St. Rose. We're looking at doing some different things this next spring, and it'll be fun to work with her and that team, because they had a raging gathering event and they had a very successful virtual event, and I can't wait to see what we get when we combine the two. So thanks for tuning in, Lindsay. Hey folks, every Wednesday at noon, join us for Fundraising BIDness Talk. I'm Patrick Siver. It's always great to visit with you, and have a great day. Bid high, bid often.